But this is one that they wanted, offensively sound, but defense continues to be a sieve as Carolina draws back to even 500. All right, back in studio with the guys. Emery, we sat there and watched this one together. It was a Dallas performance that we've seen throughout the entire of the season. Most total yards as an offense in the NFL coming to this one, most yards allowed. We see that represented in this final score. What did you make of the total performance here from Dallas?
Well, the offense is fine. Defensively, they can't stop anybody. I thought they played fine defensively early in the game, but as the game wore on, that's when Carolina started finding confidence and they started finding plays down the field. They let a dead team come back to life. And that, right in and of itself, is not playing winning defense. You want to play your best defense in critical situations. I thought this was handled better by Carolina, more so than Dallas in that regard. And when you talk about the Panthers in this game and how they were able to, find life and make things happen, they always had an answer. Dallas refused to put this team away, and that's why they lost this ball game.
Plain and simple for me, the Rico Dowdle revenge game.
Yeah.
He made it known that this game was personal for him, and I appreciate the honesty because oftentimes when a player is playing against his former team, it's not that big of a deal, right? It's just the next best game. He said this was personal, and guess what he went out and did? 183 yards on the ground, 56 through the air, over 200 yards of total offense, and a touchdown.
That's off the career high 206 last week in his first start as a Panther. So you do the math. This man is balling in his first two games.
Yes, Emery, you talked about the issues for the Cowboys defensively. It was more so about their inability to stop Rico Dowdle. Period. Yeah. Nobody else. Number 5 was a madman today, and they needed him to be as such for Carolina to come back into this ball game. The Dallas Cowboys defensively, they will be the death of the Cowboys in terms of playoff hopes because their offense, without CD Lamb, they're still a playoff caliber offense. Without CD Lamb, Dak Prescott is still slicing opposing defenses. But because of their defense, it goes undone. It's almost like they're wasting quality offensive play because they can't get the necessary stops to win ball games like today. And it's unacceptable and it's annoying, but this is the life they're living in currently for the Dallas Cowboys. You got to try to outscore every team you play. It doesn't matter if you're playing against Bryce Young or Sam Young. It don't matter. You got to outscore whoever the opposing quarterback is.
I thought Steve Young was going to get a shout out.
No, Sam. Shouts out Sam.
We appreciate that as well. 216 rushing yards here, JJ. Yep. We oftentimes talk about the young quarterback's best friend being a run game that can do exactly what Carolina did in this matchup. But what sort of belief does this build in a young quarterback still trying to find it?
Well, it's huge, right? Because this is no Chuba Hubbard. And without Chuba, you were thinking, oh, boy, the Panthers are certainly about to struggle being with Rico Dowdle. That has not been the case these last couple of weeks. Rico Dowdle not only, of course, leading them in rushing, also in receiving. We saw Ted McMillan there in the end zone twice, but Rico Dowdle leading the Carolina Panthers in receiving against the Dallas Cowboys, which, B-Mac, speaks to your point even more. You should be winning football games when the leading receiver is the running back for the other team. I want to shout out the Carolina Panthers, though, who, for the first time since 2021, are at 500 this deep in the season. There was after week 2, the Panthers are 0-2. Yep. There was some question before that last drive by Bryce Young against the Arizona Cardinals about whether there could be another benching of Bryce Young and bring in Andy Dalton. And now they have turned things around, being at 500, a Carolina Panthers team, and I think we all believe that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to win that division. But this is a Panthers team that can be competitive, that can win football games. So shout out to them and Dave Canales here in year 2.
And the crazy part is when you look at Rico Dowdle having this game, it shows you that they have a running game. They're not just running plays. So it doesn't matter who's the back there. They've found a way to scheme up run plays. And when you look at this division, seeing how the Falcons play tomorrow or whatnot, and you see how Carolina has found some life.
Carolina beat them 30-0.
Exactly. So now you look at Carolina, you look at this rest of the division. This is going to be interesting. We thought it was going to be Tampa Bay, but now we never know with this Carolina Panthers team. But I like how they are running the football, regardless of who's back there at tailback.
Some very clear splits emerging. 3-0 at home, 0-3 on the road, but an even 500 this late in the season. We know Carolina fans will take that. More to come here on HQ as we take a look at Teteroa McMillan, most receiving touchdowns in a game by a rookie, too.
Say it with your chest.
In Panthers history.
Number 1 instigator right here.
Tet was standing alone in the end zone. Makes a couple plays in this one that end up being decisive in a 3-point win over the Dallas Cowboys. Back in studio with the guys. Broad thoughts here on the Ravens and some of the struggles. But first, let's start with LA. This is a team that was looking at a defense that gives you a lot. They weren't able to execute Mac at that level in the first half. They find that hot 90 seconds in the second half. How do you grade out a team here that is going to have plenty of teachable moments off this tape as well?
Well, this is the life in the NFL. You know, when you're playing against a team that's dealing with an abundance of injuries on the road, one would think you go out and do the same thing the other teams have done against the Baltimore Ravens, which is score a lot of points and, of course, make it difficult for them on the offensive end. But the NFL, in terms of adjustments and just the high knowledge from the staff, you see opposing teams, when they're not at their fullest, they put forth a better effort. And that's what we saw from the Baltimore Ravens, but not enough. The untimely turnovers led to another loss for the Baltimore Ravens. And yes, you didn't see the Matthew Stafford game that we thought we would see.
Yep.
We didn't see the explosion or the accuracy offensively. But to your point, Joe, the 90 seconds of timely plays made the better for them in terms of winning this ball game, because I can tell you this much. This was a must-win for the Rams. When you look at what they're doing, what they have going on in their division, chasing the San Francisco 49ers, who's playing really, really good football, Seattle playing really, really good football. You don't want to allow separation between yourself and the rest of the pack and those two teams. So this was a must-win. It was ugly, but they got the job done.
They got the job done a different way because the Rams offensively have a perception of being soft and finesse. But they went out there against Baltimore and got beat up a little bit, but they showed them that, hey, we can match that physicality and respond to that. They lost some players with some injuries, but they came back in the game. You saw Puka Nacua out for a little while. Then you saw, Corum get out for a little while, but then the Rams responded. They found a way to fight through that adversity. We saw Devontae Adams drop how many passes over the middle of the field in this ball game, but working through adversity, found themselves on the other side of things, showed that they have the mental toughness, they have the physical toughness, and I think those things kind of are some of the takeaways you can take away from this game if you're the Rams.
Yeah, excuse me. It was an ugly win, sure, but it was a win. They've had two very close losses, right? They lost to the Eagles in a game they probably should have won. Of course, lost to the 49ers, and so I think that's a great point when you're talking about not wanting to allow for that separation in the NFC West. That is essential for the Rams. Next week, of course, they're going to be, that's why they stayed on the East Coast. They are going to London. They're going to be playing a very difficult Jacksonville Jaguars team before they have their bye coming back from Europe. So a big win for the Rams. I'm not too worried about how ugly it was necessarily, just because it is what it is.
To your point, I believe we think we know what we have in the Rams, and that's a team that's going to contend for a playoff position and maybe far beyond that. As for this Baltimore team, we continue to try and figure out what we do have here, gentlemen. We do have a performance much more the likes of Derrick Henry, 120-something here on 5 per pop, but Cooper Rush, the quarterback, limits them in some ways.
A lot of ways.
Coach Harbaugh knows his team more intimately than anyone at this desk, but you see some flickers of what Snoop Huntley offers as a +1. The question becomes, why not in quarter one?
Yeah, I do understand that. Of course, he offered that sort of flicker there with the game. I don't want to say out of reach, but I do wonder if the Rams had prepared for Snoop Huntley all week. If it would have looked like that when he was entered into the game there in the second half. Obviously, Harbaugh understands that Snoop Huntley isn't going to give them maybe what they need in the pass game. Obviously disappointed in what Cooper Rush did, but of course, you wanted to at least try to go 500 without Lamar Jackson. They weren't even competitive in these two games. Now the Ravens have a bye. You hope that Lamar Jackson, having been able to rest that hamstring for 3 weeks at that point, will be able to come